What's going on YouTube? Ryan Alex back from Dopemon again. The 2022 World Junior Championships is set to return on August 9th, and the rosters for the tournament are starting to be announced, so we wanted to pop back and talk about them real quick. Today we'll start with Team Canada, last World Juniors in 2021, not the one that was cancelled, the one before that. Canada lost to the US 2-0 in the gold medal game, so they'll start their march toward another gold medal when the tournament begins on August 9th. If you like watching this video, be sure to leave a like and a subscribe if you did, for more dope hockey content. We're going to give a quick look at what's changed first, and then our best approximations for what the lines will be. So what you're seeing right now is what the lines were. These are the players that are not on the roster. It's actually quite a bit. The Team Canada has seen quite a few nerfs, a few downgrades, we'll say. Owen Power, Caden Gooley, Cole Perfetti, Maverick Bork, Shane Wright, Jake Neighbors, Dylan Gunther, Xavier Bourgault, and Justin Sordif, all not making this team. Yeah, you want to talk about the guys we lost, Alex?
Well, I want to attribute it to, mostly NHL training camp, stuff like that. NHL teams don't want players to go out, get injured. They want them to be at the camp, get their, NHL rosters ready. So I can kind of see why. But, I obviously would love to see a best on best, but guys like Owen Power, Cole Perfetti are out of the roster. Shane Wright, drafted 4th overall by the Seattle Kraken. Big shocker. Jake Neighbors, big names, and they're
Yeah.
missing.
Essentially, our entire first line was blown out, or our 1A line. Best defenseman, Owen Power, Caden Gooley, one of our better defensive guys. So we're coming in with this team a little bit nerfed, but the guys that replaced them we'll get to. There's a lot of talent on this roster still. It is Canada. There were guys in the waiting, to be picked for this team, and we'll go over them now. I'm just going to do a quick cut before we do that. All right, we're back. We'll start off with the goalies, who actually remain unchanged, so I didn't really need to hide it. We have Dylan Garand, Brent Brochu, and Sebastian Cossa. Dylan Garand of the Kamloops Blazers, now 20 years old. They are allowing 20-year-olds into the tournament. That is something they're grandfathering in. So we will see a couple what would be overage guys, but because it's in August, they're letting it slide for this time around. And Kamloops this year, 45 games played and a .925 save percentage in WHL, which is insane. Very, very good, a 34-9-1 record. Brett Brochu, who's actually undrafted this year, was one of only 2 undrafted players on this team. The other we'll get to. I'm sure you know who it is. In London, 43 games and a .911 save percentage, 29-11-2. I know he got hurt toward the end of the year, but he was back for playoffs, so he did get through a 7-game series where London lost to, I believe, the Kitchener Rangers, if I remember correctly. And then our last goalie here is Sebastian Cossa, Detroit Red Wings draft pick, 15th overall a few years ago. In the Edmonton Oil Kings in WHL, 46 games and a 33-9-3 record, with a .913 save percentage and a .228 goals against average, and played really, really well in 19 games in the playoffs and in the Memorial Cup as well. Those are goalie tandems. Remains unchanged. When the one game Canada did play against Austria, I believe it was Brett Brochu that got the start for that. So see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of these goalies saw a start at some point. They're all that good.
I believe Garand started the first, Brochu on the second or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know
Yeah.
it. I know Cossa didn't start.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, we'll get through this tournament and all 3 will start.
And that leads us to our defensemen. Our top pairing is on the left, Lukas, Cormier, and on the right, Ronan, Seeley.
Not me.
Sorry, I was looking at your face, Ryan.
Yeah.
Lukas Cormier, a 3rd-round pick by the Vegas Golden Knights in 2020. Really more of an offensive D out of the QMJHL. He's a guy that has a lot of goals. The past 2 years, he's basically been a half goal per game during the season and the playoffs. This team is, missing out on their number one D, Owen Power from the canceled tournament. They're really going to look at Cormier to generate a lot of offense, and he can. In the offensive zone, he's a killer. He's got a good shot. He can pass, and so we'll see him racking up the points. And his partner, Ronan Seeley, is a strong two-way defenseman, really good defending the rush, and I think between the two of these guys, they're going to provide a strong shutdown kind of role in a way that I think is going to work really well and transition between the two of them that their Canada's really going to rely on.
Yeah, and the other thing we have to mention too is all the defensemen, or 7 out of 8 of them, are left-handed. So the same problem as last time. Way too many left-handed shots, so some players are going to have to play their offside. We have Seeley here on his off wing because he played with Owen Power on the right side, and Lukas Cormier is another offensive guy, so that's where our logic was here. Line 2 for defense, we have Donovan Sebrango and Olen Zellweger. And I believe this is the exact same line. This is one of the only ones that remained untouched. We'll keep them together for now. Who knows? Donovan Sebrango, left shot defenseman, like I said, drafted in the 3rd round, 63 overall by Detroit a few years ago in the 2020 draft. He actually played in Grand Rapids for most of the year. In the AHL, 63 games, 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points. And he was a really, really good player in the canceled tournament. I remember he had a couple really good games. And Olen Zellweger, the Everett Silvertips had a really great end of his year. I realized he had 78 points, 55 games, had a great back half, like I said. And he got into 1 playoff game with the San Diego Gulls of the AHL. He is a Anaheim Duck draft pick, so they got some defensemen in their wings there for sure. And yeah, this is, I think, a good second pair, a good second line that can do multitude of things, and obviously played together in a few games last tournament, so they have some chemistry there.
And our third D pairing on the left is Carson Lambos, and on the right, Ryan O'Rourke. Carson Lambos on the left. I'm a huge fan of him, drafted in the 26th overall by the Minnesota Wild in 2021. He's been a huge part of the success of that Winnipeg Ice team in the WHL. They're probably one of the best in the league. He hasn't kind of reached the offensive potential I think was expected of him, but I've always appreciated him for his the defensive side of his game and his attention to detail. And I think as a third pair D for Canada here, he's going to be a really strong option. And Ryan O'Rourke, he is mean. I love him. He's, you're talking about perfect guy for a third pairing D. He's a strong, stay-at-home kind of defender. Not much else that you can ask for out of a U20 kind of tournament. These guys who are strong can be very useful, and Ryan O'Rourke is going to be a threat for a team that, like you said, has been nerfed. They're going to need a guy like Ryan O'Rourke himself, a 2nd round pick by the Minnesota Wild, another Minnesota Wild, D pairing here between Lambos and O'Rourke. In 2020, he was drafted.
Yeah, and speaking of Minnesota Wild draftees, there's one on the 4th line here as well. We have Daemon Hunt and Jack Thompson. These are our extra guys. These are the guys that replaced Power and Cuylle. Daemon Hunt, Moose Jaw Warriors in WHL as a left shot, Minnesota Wild draftee, 3rd round in 2020, 65th overall in Moose Jaw this year in 46 games, had 39 points. Really good there for Moose Jaw. And Jack Thompson, who is the only right-hand shot on this D roster. Was picked in the 3rd round by Tampa Bay Lightning, 93rd overall in 2020 in 29 games for Sudbury, had 23 points, and he was traded to the Sioux Greyhounds in 36 games, had 34 points. So 50-plus point season for him. He might end up sneaking somewhere higher in the roster. We'll see, solely because he is a naturally right-handed shot. Might play better on the right side, depending on what the players want to be. But for now, we kept the top 6 that were there in the top 6. But we'll see. We'll see what happens once we get into the games. And also to keep in mind, the World Juniors are one of those tournaments where they have extra roster spots on the bench. So one of these, they'll have 2 players. They'll have a 13th forward and a 7th defenseman. And generally, they kind of like throw them in every once in a while. So a guy like Jack Thompson might be a really good idea for that if you really need that right-hand shot, say on a penalty kill or something like that where it's more useful. he can do that.
Yeah, 2 subs. I can't imagine them picking 2 forwards.
Yeah,
Or,
I
2
wouldn't
D.
be.
It's going to be 1 forward, 1 D.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our forward lines. And our first forward line is a good one
Yep.
because it was the second line at the World Juniors that were canceled here, the 2022 that happened the end of December. We have Kent Johnson, Mason McTavish, and Logan Stankoven.
Yep.
And I really like this line. Particularly, I want to start. I usually go left, center, right wing, but I want to start with Mason McTavish because he had 5 points in 2 games, and on this roster now, that makes him tied for the most points in those 2 games from the canceled tournament. So I think he's going to have to be a huge part of this team as well. And also, he is tied as well for the most NHL experience in 9 games. He has, of course, 2 goals, 1 assist.
Pretty
Anaheim
good.
Ducks. Yeah, it was good.
He played really
nice.
well. I wouldn't have been surprised if they, if they needed him, that he would have stayed there. But because they're in rebuilding mode, they didn't have to stay there. So they kind of got bounced around a little bit. But he had all the skill to be an NHL player last year.
Yes, he is. He is ready for the NHL, and to have NHL level talent at this tournament, and now he was already ready in December, and now it's been 8 months now. He's even better now than he was, and he's gonna tear it up. On the left, Kent Johnson, who was 5th overall in 2021 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's the other player with NHL experience, getting 3 points in NHL games, and he's another guy that I think is NHL ready.
Yep.
Showed by all means. I'm surprised more so that he was sent down than McTavish because I didn't expect Columbus to, I thought they could have used him, but it's another guy who's really good. And Logan Stankoven, who you love.
I love Logan
You're a
Stankoven.
huge fan. He's
One
been
of my favorite
the
players from
captain.
that draft.
Yeah, the captain of the Kamloops Blazers the past year. He scored over 100 points.
Yep. 45 goals in 59 games. The dude can fly and he can shoot like the best of them, which what makes him a perfect fit for this line, I think. And the only line, like you said, that made it out of the that is remaining from the defunct December tournament, it remains here. Moving on to second line, we have Brennan Othmann, Connor Bedard, and William Dufour. Connor Bedard was on last December's team. He did not get a whole lot of action, but he was there. And as a 16-year-old, did pretty well. Where are my players gone? Sorry. He's 17 now, so he's the one who was tied. He had a lot of points, so he's 17 now, so we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him in there. We contemplated putting him on the first line spot, but Mason McTavish is also really, really good, so we left him there. Brennan Othmann is a Rangers draft pick, was 16th overall in 2021. For Flint Firebirds, he had 50 goals in 66 games and 97 points, and 24 in 19 playoff games for Flint. Connor Bedard, like I said, he'll be the first overall pick in this year's draft, no question about it. He's absolutely a generational talent in 62 games in Regina as a 16-year-old, had 51 goals and 49 assists for 100 points. As a 16-year-old in WHL, that is incredible. And William Dufour will have round out this lineup. He was a 5th-round selection in 2020, 152nd overall by the New York Islanders. And in St. John, he has an absolutely incredible breakout season with the St. John Sea Dogs in 66 games, had 56 goals, 60 assists, and 116 points, and helped the St. John Sea Dogs to a Memorial Cup championship in 2022. This is just an insane line. All 3 of these guys have at least 50 goals in their respective leagues. The Othmann was 3 points away from having 300-point players. I think these 3 fit in really well together. They can do a lot of things. I wouldn't be surprised if all these guys were on the power play as well. Canada's always got offense, but this could be a really crazy second line.
And our third line. On the left, we have Joshua Roy, or Roy. He is from Quebec. Joshua Roy, Ridley Greig, and Tyson Foerster. And We don't know for sure. These lines that we put as we've had them here are, just what we've had in our
Yeah.
heads. We've seen a little bit of the training camp, a little bit of other, other media moguls' opinions on what the lines are going to be from training camp and stuff. We're not so sure, but the way we have it, I love this line.
Hmm.
Of course, I am an Ottawa Senators fan, so I'm going to start down the middle. Ridley Greig, who is the bottomless endless tank of
Yeah.
pure radioactive energy. He is
His
the
motor does not
perfect.
stop.
And this guy is just a jet engine that blew up and is still blowing up and is just going, and it'll never stop. And perfect third line kind of center. That's exactly what you want. He's growing physically. He's also had the opportunity in the WHL, being the captain of the Brandon Wheat Kings. He was able to be like their number one center, play big minutes, had that opportunity, to like rise up to that role. So I think that at this tournament, you're gonna, still see the flashes of offense. He's not just gonna be like a grinder kind of guy. So I think he's going to be a very valuable piece. And on both wings, start on the left wing, Joshua Waugh, who is an incredible goal scorer, 51 goals in 66 games with the Sherbrooke Phoenix in the QMJHL. I know the Q's, all about that high octane offense, and that's exactly what Joshua Waugh brings. And same with Tyson Foerster. He's kind of developed his game into a strong shooting role kind of game, and I think that this lineup, this line, the three of them together, they're just going to be such a strong forechecking option. All three of them are so strong that they're going to bounce off of each other, turn over the puck, and you have Waugh who can score and Tyson Foerster who can score as well. Uh, I just, that's how they're going to score. Strong forechecking, pass to each other, one-timers. This is a killer lineup. I really like it. Tyson Foerster, of course, was a first-round pick in 2020 to Philly. Barry Colts boy has AHL experience. I think this entire line has a little bit of AHL experience. No, Ridley Greig does. And yeah, they all three has AHL experience. So
Yeah,
I think
this line I really like too. Joshua Roy doesn't have or sorry, he doesn't isn't shy away from isn't going to shy away from the physicality either, like Ridley
mhm.
Greig. So those two in the forecheck, and Tyson Foerster more as like a trigger man shooter on this line with these two, setting them up, and I think it'd be could be really really good getting maybe the weaker matchups against the stronger teams because they're the third line, and the third their other defensive lines are focusing more on Mason McTavish and Connor Bedard. Ridley Greig and Joshua Roy and Tyson Foerster sneak in there, score some goals. Good depth scoring. Fourth line, two players of which we will remain on the same line from the previous iteration of Canada's fourth line. We have Will Cuylle, Elliot Desnoyers, and Nathan Gaucher. Desnoyers and Cuylle were on the team in December. 6'4" Will Cuylle, New York Rangers pick, 60th overall, round 2 in 2020 draft. In Windsor this year, in 59 games, had 80 points, 43 goals, and had 31 points in 25 playoff games for Windsor. So really, really good player for them. Elliot Desnoyers is listed as a left winger on Elite Prospects. I have him at center here. He has played some center. Philadelphia Flyers pick, 135th overall in 2020. For Halifax, 61 games and 88 points, 42 of them goals. This was their fourth line. So I'd expect these two to play together. And what I have on the right side is Nathan Gaucher, who is listed as a center. I have him on the wing, and he's a right shot, so you can put him and Desnoyers on, depending on which side of the ice you're starting on. Put them on the face-off for their strong side. 6'3" Gaucher mixes up really well with Will Cuylle on his other wing, another big guy. Gaucher, in this previous draft, 2022 draft, was selected 22nd overall by Anaheim. So Anaheim has a couple of good players in this draft. In Quebec, 66 games for 57 points, 31 goals. I really liked Nathan Gaucher. He was way higher in my rankings than a lot of people had him. I probably would have picked him somewhere in the early teens. I just really like his game. He's solid everywhere. He gives you a really good level game with some high-end skill. And I think his a perfect guy to have as a third, fourth line, center winger. Can take a face off, penalty kill. I like it.
And that brings us to our extra forwards. Of course, at a time, like you said, we're going to have 13 forwards on the roster. So somebody's going to be substituted in. Every team gets 2 substitutes, likely a forward and D. Can't see 2 of either.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Riley Kidney and Zack Ostapchuk. Riley Kidney, the center here sometimes plays winger, sometimes plays center, so I think he's going to be a great depth piece for Canada. And we have 2 very, very, very different players as like our 13th and 14th forwards here. Kidney's the pure offensive guy, great offensive instincts and puck handling skills. Likes to bounce the puck off of his own feet, do crazy stuff in the offensive zone. And Zack Ostapchuk, he's got size, speed, skill. He's quick, he's big, he's got size. Two very different types of players, but I think that both will be a huge benefit to Canada's depth here. And obviously, I'm a huge Ottawa Senators fan. Zack Ostapchuk was selected by Ottawa in the second round in 2021, and I'm glad to see him here. He's really stepped up in the second half of his +1 draft season in the WHL, and he really did earn a role, a spot on this roster.
Yeah, I like this team. I think they are weaker than they were with some of the really high-end guys like Shane Wright, Owen Power obviously not being there. But this is still a really good team. Canada is Canada in this tournament, and they, go for gold every time. It's gold or bust for Canada in this tournament. So we'll see what happens there. I know a lot of the other teams are going to be really strong as well, but a few of them are going to have their high-end players not play in this tournament because of NHL training camps. I think I already know that Juraj Slavkovsky for Team Slovakia will not be in this tournament. I think that's unconfirmed at this point, but I would expect guys like him and the top players who are looking to really push for a roster spot in their NHL teams not be in this tournament. So we'll see. Maybe Canada's the only team that really has impacted that much with 2 top picks not being in it, but we'll see. What do you think, Alex? What do you think of this team? Can we do it?
We have good goaltending in Canada. I think that a goalie could steal the show. I'm very high on all 3 of them, especially if you can find some kind of rotation, keep all of them hot.
Yeah.
I think that the D-core has a lot more potential in it to find chemistry than pure skill. So, sometimes, you take things out, but you might find a little bit better of a roster. I still like this team all across it. I think that any player can kind of jump up the roster and play in any spot for any reason.
Yeah.
And for that, I think that I can, as much as, like you said right from the start, everybody knows, all these players are missing. This team isn't as good. I think it could still be the best.
Agreed, 100%. Let us know what you think about our rosters, our lineups, what these players, who you are most excited to watch. For me, I think it's got to be Connor Bedard. I'm really curious what he's going to be able to do as a 17-year-old in this tournament. And then we might see him, in the next World Juniors is a few months from now. Mm-hmm. So we might get 2 World Junior Championships in a row to perform here and really do well. I like your Ottawa guys. I like Ridley Greig. Bunch of guys. We'll see who plays in net. Hopefully Sebastian Cossa gets some time, be able to see him. Yeah. Unless you have anything else to add, that's it for us.
That is it. Thank you all so much for watching. We are Dopamon. We're 2 best friends. We like to talk hockey news, analysis. We have mock drafts and scouting reports, all sorts of stuff for international hockey like Halinka and the World Juniors. So stick around during the NHL offseason, during all this amazing international hockey. We love to cover it and, bring it to you guys. Stick around through, all that, and then into the NHL season. We have a lot of stuff planned for that too. So hit like, subscribe, stick around for more dope hockey content. Peace.